Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, part 3. We looked at a lot of clips, pulled out the best. Here you go. So this is more about the swamp, the establishment, Mike Johnson, but let's just talk about it a minute. What changes have we seen from Paul Ryan, Pelosi, Kevin McArthur, Mike Johnson? It's all about the same. They all want to go to war. It's when the speaker changes, it doesn't really matter. Thomas Massie called that out as well. Here, Charlie Kirk calls it out. So we all know this. We talk about it in the groups, right? It's the establishment, the swamp. Instead of working for you, they seem to be, by their actions, working for themselves. And when they leave office, they go into bigger jobs while you at home are suffering. I think Paul Ryan went on to Fox, right? So he didn't want a border. And so one of the main pieces of this interview with Charlie Kirk and about Donald Trump is he wanted that border wall and he wanted security. And according to the articles I read, he wanted Paul Ryan to even force a shutdown to get the wall built, but Paul Ryan wouldn't do it. Because again, the Uniparty likes open borders. So it was Trump versus the world, Trump versus the establishment. And he had a lot on. Imagine what this guy has taken on for you. 2 attempts on his life that we know about, more, I'm sure, from the articles I've read. But you need a border. It's a great issue for the American people. The American people want the border secure and fixed. Congress just ignores you. Democrats and Republicans and the Uniparty. The Uniparty and Democrats and Republicans ignore you. Now, one time he goes through this thing, Mike Johnson was opposed, but suddenly he gains power and suddenly he's for it. FBI walks in and shows him stuff, and now he's okay with warrants. By the way, during the revolution, we had a problem. In Boston, they were coming into homes, just inspecting offices with these writs. We didn't ever want that again. George Mason didn't want it. Sam Adams didn't want it. So we wrote it in, and you got protection, and you have privacy. The Fourth Amendment gives you privacy, and you're supposed to have privacy. This is terrible. We called the Patriot Act the Tyrant Act. This is a disaster that Mike Johnson did this, of what Charlie Kirk is talking about here. And this is Charlie Kirk talking about what Mike Johnson did. Sam Adams would have stood against it. Don't we want patriots like Patrick Henry that say, give me liberty or give me death? That fight for your liberty, right? Fight for freedom. Fight for your privacy in the Fourth Amendment. Fight for that Bill of Rights. Men died for it. Men fought for it to put it in, to break away and give you this freedom. So a couple other things. The House has control of the budget. He could stop the spending if he wanted. They have not been using it. They do these omnibus. We won't go into that because we're getting ready to do a piece on that. The point is they have control of the spending. We talk about this in one of the next videos, not this series, but one coming up on Thomas Massie. So we won't go and break this down. But the House, they fought for that at the ratification. At the Constitutional Convention, for the House to have the power. Why? Why'd they fight for that? So we would be close to the people and responsive to the people. And he goes in to what I call the LG, the light G. He says certain people don't have it. Thomas Massie, Donald Trump. Well, we'll see. But anyway, some politicians seem to want to be liked by the media, but not by their constituents. It seems like at some points, right? They want to be liked by the media. And they're invited to, I guess, the parties or something. They want to be liked by the big shots, I guess. But the House has the power to stop spending. They can say this: we're not going to protect Ukraine's borders unless we protect our borders. We'll cut the spending. Hey, if you don't protect our borders and seal it up, we're not giving you any more money. But they don't do that. Why? Because it's the Uniparty. So Mike Johnson, we don't want warrant. We want make sure you have to have a warrant before you do any spying. Right? Mike Johnson can do that. The House can do that. They can withhold spending and get their way on that. All right, let's go on to the next clip.
We know that our God is a God of order and distinction. What is the first thing that God did? In the Hebrew scriptures, it says, well, and also our scripture in the original Genesis, Bereshit, which is in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then he separated and he made sense. He made order out of chaos. Our God is a God of order, and order only comes with distinctions, and distinctions are necessary. Think about all the distinctions that God set up in the first 6 books of Genesis that are currently under attack. The distinction between male and female. The distinction between man and nature. The distinction between the holy and the profane. The distinction between good and evil. The distinction between infant and adult. These distinctions have always been what Western civilization were built upon, but it is Satan's goal to blur and eventually destroy those distinctions.
So this is an excellent point that Charlie Kirk makes, and we make this sometimes. God brings what? Order. And there's order in a male and female relationship, right? There's chaotic feminine energy and there's masculine energy. And what do men and leaders do? We bring order to the chaos. God brings order to the world. And young men, you men should bring order to the feminine chaos. And both can enrich each other, right? Men and women, by the way, can make each other better and enrich. And I like to say that always because some people are trying to drive us apart. No. Men and women can make each other better. We can enrich each other. Feminine energy and masculine energy creates an attraction. And you can settle, if you make decisions and the woman can relax in her feminine energy and that can come out. And she'll probably be lighter and funner if you're making decisions and leading. So it's up to us men to lead the country and lead the families and lead your girlfriends. Give them leadership. That's order. That is God's order. And we state this all the time. There's two sexes, male and female. That's it. I know there's that small percentage of that. We're not getting into that. For the majority of people, for 99%, 99.8%, it's male and female. And men can't become women and women cannot become men. That's the point I'm making. And this is a Marxist attack. It's dreadful. It's an attack on men. It's an attack on women. Look at women's sports, but it goes way beyond women's sports. It's an attack on the essence of women to destroy woman. Birthing people instead of mothers. That's a design that's by Marxism. It's a Marxist attack and a feminist attack on the family and on women and on men. We need to get along well, in fact, to beat the powers that be. Men and women need to ally for freedom. We got to get along. This is the big thing of one of our points. Young and old, black and white, men and women, we need to come together for freedom if we want this nation to last. Relativism, no distinction, that was created, that came into America, where there was no distinction between right and wrong, good and evil. Of course, there is good and evil. But it's even worse than that. He talks about distinctions, setting distinctions, right? Today they want to reverse it, which for a long time has reminded me of Isaiah 5:20, where they say, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who substitute darkness for light and light for darkness, who substitute bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." They're doing that, right? They're reversing what's good. Remember Daniel Penny, New York? And all over the place you can see it. But we also know who wins, right? All right, let's go on to the next clip.
These distinctions have always been what Western civilization were built upon, but it is Satan's goal to blur and eventually destroy those distinctions, because those distinctions of which we get order, and if you do not have that order, then you have the closest thing to satanic chaos here in our country. Man!
Okay, so he's talking about satanic chaos, and of course, there is a spiritual battle. You can see that it's more than political. I mean, if you look at the evil in the world today, there's more to it. It's been going on since the beginning of time. It didn't start with us. It started way before us. You can go all the way back. But I want to read this. Paul talked about it too. Remember in Ephesians 6:12, what does he say? "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places." So if you're struggling or overwhelming, or you're saying, what is going on? Why are they doing this? Know this, it's a spiritual battle. It's way beyond us in this world. The fight began way before you. So if you're saying, I get this question, what is going on? What's going on is, this has been happening a long time. It's a spiritual attack. You can see the evil. Trying to destroy women, trying to have little girls change themselves into what can't be, what can't happen. That's wickedness. Because a girl cannot become a man. It's impossible. So that is true evil. Next clip.
Because you've always been honest about how you think about things, and when you change your mind, you proclaim it loudly. The evidence changed, and so did my conclusion. I've heard you say that. So tell me what the progress was like for you.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We're in Wichita, which is actually fitting, because there is a reason that actually, and you know where I'm going with this.
I know exactly where you're going. There's a large black building nearby.
Yeah, I don't know if it's black or white or
It is.
rainbow. It might be rainbow, actually. Which is that early, when I got my start in the conservative movement in 2012, 13, 14, 15, hyper-libertarian forces had taken over the conservative movement. Now, I'm very libertarian on certain things. I'm libertarian on free speech, on privacy issues. I'm libertarian on guns, right? I'm libertarian on certain things. However, the kind of libertarianization of the conservative movement was actually not good for us. It was not good for us to stop caring about the nuclear family. It was not good for us to all of a sudden say that borders don't matter and that America is just an idea and it's an experiment. I fell for that crap for a couple of years in 2015, 16, 17. Again, I'm not trying to pick on any sort of thing here in Wichita, but billions of dollars have flowed out of this city into the conservative movement to try to make us less conservative and more liberal in the conservative movement. That's a fact, okay?
That's the end of part 3, and we'll move on to the next one in part 4. If you like our message, we'd appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe.